let's take a look at some of these WAEC questions that have been presented for us. And the first question here has to do with storage structures. And the question says, the storage structure usually installed by the government for bulk storage of grains in West Africa is A, the bin, C, crib, B, crib, C, silo, and D, rumbles. Now, when it has to do with storage of grains by the government, and remember they said bulk storage, of all this storage structure here, the one that is the largest is the silo. So the silo is a storage structure used by the government for bulk storage of grains. This question says, rural-urban migration of farm labor could be prevented by A, increasing the size of farmland for cultivation, B, employing more extension agents for farmers. Now, C, increasing the cost of acquiring farmland, and D, establishing agro-based industries in villages. Now, what does this rural-urban migration mean? That's the movement of people, especially the young population, from the rural areas to the urban areas in search of greener pastures. So if you increase the size of the farmland for cultivation, that will not encourage them to remain in the rural areas. Employing more extension agents will also not encourage them to remain in the rural areas. Increasing the cost of acquiring farmland will even make the situation even worse. And the last option is establishing agro-based industries. Now, when agro-based industries are established, this would then create employment opportunities, and this would encourage the youth to remain in the rural areas. So establishing agro-based industries in villages is the correct answer that will help to prevent rural-urban migration. This question says, farming systems generally recommended for farm settlement scheme is, we have mixed cropping, pastoral farming, mixed farming, continuous cropping. Now, all of these aspects, mixed cropping just has to do with only cropping. Pastoral farming also has to do just with animal production. Continuous cropping is also one aspect which has to do with cropping, but mixed farming has to do with both cropping and animal rearing, so that is the answer. The farm settlement scheme has to do, recommended, as the farming system recommended for the farm settlement scheme is mixed farming. The part of a disc plow to which the discs are connected is A, scraper, B, beam, C, furrow, and D, standard. Now, the scraper is to remove mud that has been stuck on the disc. The beam is the support frame, and the answer is not the beam. The beam is for additional weight to the disc plow. The furrow wheel is also for support, while the standard is actually what the disc plows are attached to. So the answer is the standard. Combined harvester is mainly used for harvesting. We have A, groundnut, B, pepper, C, rice, D, tomatoes. Now, the combined harvester is not used for groundnuts. It's also not used for pepper, which is a fruit. Neither is it used for tomato, which is a fruit, because the combined harvester harvests and processes this crop produce by threshing them, and then pepper doesn't require threshing, same as tomatoes, and also bagging. So the ideal answer here is rice, because when it's harvested, it's threshed, it's winnowed, and it's bagged. So the answer is rice. Here we have a diagram showing different sources of farm power. We have man, animal, tractor, and solar power. Now, they said which of the illustrated sources of farm power is the cheapest? Now the answer here is number 1, which is man, because man actually makes use of simple crude tools while carrying out his farming practices. So the answer here is 1, which is man. Okay, still on this illustration with these diagrams, another question. This question says, the machinery illustrated in diagram 3, which is a tractor, could be used to power. We have the planters, the dryers, and the sprayers. These are all machineries or tractor-coupled implements that are attached to the tractors, and all of them can be powered by the tractor. So the answer is D. Okay, still on this topic, this question using these illustrations, these diagrams, the question says, which of the illustrated sources of farm power decreases in efficiency due to constant use? So these sources of farm power for man and animals, they're subject to fatigue, they are prone to sickness, machines are subject to wear and tear, but when it comes to solar power, it's a free gift of nature, and the solar power is ever constant. It doesn't decrease in efficiency. So our answers here are, or the answer here is 1, 2, and 3, so which is D. Now, high relative humidity in a brooder house could lead to, now what is a brooder house? That is a house where chicks are reared in order to provide proper care for them before they are taken to the main pen and completed up to maturity. So when you have high relative humidity in a brooder house, what are the possible challenges that one would experience? Here, when you talk about humidity, we're talking about moisture content in the atmosphere. So the A option says heat stress. Nope, relative humidity will not cause heat stress. Neither will it reduce feed intake. Neither will it also lead to production of dry litter. Remember, it's moisture content, is the water content in the atmosphere. But the last option says buildup of pests and diseases. Now, a moist environment will encourage pathogens, breeding of pathogens, or the growth of pathogens. And especially for poultry diseases, one of the diseases that thrives in a humid environment is coccidiosis. So the answer there for this question is D, buildup of pests and diseases. Dry neutral crops are crops that produce flowers regardless of, this has to do with light intensity, the exposure of crops to sunlight. Some crops require more of daylight, some require equal daylight and equal length of night, while some require more of shorter daylight, exposure to light, and longer days of night. So in this case, they said day neutral crops are crops that produce flowers regardless of extreme low temperatures. No, day length being longer than the length of night. Extreme high temperatures, no. Amount of sunlight received by flowering plants. Here we're not just talking about the amount of sunlight, we're talking about the length of the day. That's when it comes to this phototropism, that's what it's all about. We're talking about the length of day and night. So the answer is B. That's day neutral crops are crops that produce flowers regardless of the day length being longer than the day length of night. And an example of such crop is tomatoes. So the answer is B. Now here, they said, which of the following tools are used in soil analysis? We have the pH meter, the sieve, the hygrometer. pH meter is to test the pH level. Sieve is also for particle size analysis. And the hygrometer is also needed for moisture content to test in the soil, water holding capacity of our soil. So all of these are important tools in soil analysis. So the answer is D. We have this question says, if 200 mils of water was poured on a soil sample in a beaker and 25% of the water drained through the soil. Determine the amount of water retained in the soil. So we have to understand that 200 ml of water was first poured on a soil sample and 25% drained through. So 25% drained. Okay, so now how do we solve this question? They said determine the amount of water that was retained. So 25% of 200 ml drained through, that's passed through the soil sample into a beaker, that is, was collected into a beaker. So what is 25% of 200 ml? So we need to calculate that. That will help us to know the amount of water that was drained through. And once we get that, we're able to know how much water was retained in the soil. So what is 25% of 200 ml? Now to get this, you need to say 25 all over 100 times 200 over 1. And this gives us, so 25 divided by 100 okay. So we have 0.25 times 200, okay. That gives us 50. So 50 ml. So 25% of 200 ml of water gives us 50 ml of water. So that means 50 ml of water drained through the soil. Now, the question is determine the amount of water that is retained in the soil. So if 50 ml passed through, how do we get to know the amount of water that was retained in the soil? So that means 50 ml is collected in the beaker. So there's a particular amount of water now that is left in the soil sample. Okay? So now we're going to say that is just as simple as subtracting the 50 ml from the 200 ml, which gives us 150 ml. So 150 ml is the amount of water that is retained in the soil sample. So the answer is C. Okay, this question says, soil structure is described as A, the proportion of the different sizes of soil sample, the degree of soil aeration within the soil, arrangement of soil particles into aggregates, and the last option is the degree of water percolation within the soil. So when we talk about the soil structure, we're talking about the arrangement of particles in the soil and into aggregates, so the answer is C. Beneficial effect of bush burning is that it increases the population of soil microorganisms, it encourages the regeneration of grasses, it increases the organic matter of soil, and it replenishes oxygen in the atmosphere. No, bush burning does not increase the population of soil microorganisms, rather it kills or decreases the population. It does not increase the organic matter contents, neither does it replenish oxygen in the atmosphere. The answer here is it encourages regeneration of grasses. In rangeland management, one of the ways practices carried out in maintaining our rangeland is bush burning, which helps to encourage the regeneration of grasses. So the answer is B. Now this diagram here is about compost pits, or about compost making, which is a compost pit. It's just about compost making. So the question says the method of compost, there's a mistake there, it's not milking, it's compost making. Illustrated in diagram is A, heap, B, bin, C, pit, and D, sheet. Now there are two methods of compost making. We have the stack method and the pit method. So this is the pit method. And the answer is C. Still on this question using this diagram, I said the part labeled 1 or I is used for. Now in compost making, when the grasses or the pasture crops are placed in the pit and ash is added or urine is added and animal dung is added, ash is added to control acidity, the animal dung starts as a starter to introduce bacteria or to aid decomposition, and the pit is filled up and covered. A stick is put in to monitor if the process is successful or has failed, and successful in the sense that if decomposition takes place, the heat to be generated. So this stick that is put into the pit is called a tester, and it is put in the pit for about, after 4 to 5 days, is brought out and felt. If it is warm or hot, it shows that decomposition has taken place, and that means the procedure or the process is successful. But once that stick is cold, it means the procedure or the process has failed. So the purpose of this stick is to test. Okay, the first option says turning the compost material. Second says checking the decomposition rate. C says stacking the compost material, and D, hastening the fermentation rate. So the answer here is to check the decomposition rate, and it's called a tester. Okay, so this question says a material that could be used as a starter in the method of compost making illustrated is A, blood, B, ash, C, straw, D, urine. And here, blood has been struck out, straw has also been struck out, so we have ash and urine. Ash actually serves as a material that helps to take care of acidity, traces of acidity, so same as urine, but urine can also serve as a starter in the sense that it contains urea and nitrogen, which enhances microbial activities, which is necessary for compost making, because compost making has to do with decomposition. So the answer here is urine. Now, the bacterium which is responsible for conversion of ammonium compounds to nitrites in the nitrogen cycle is nitrosomonas. So that's the answer. Which of the following statements about underground drainage is true? A, ditches are constructed to remove excess water. B, water seeps into tiles to reach an outlet where it is discharged. And C, ditches are dug from a source of water to the farmland. D, furrows are constructed to direct water out of the farmland. Now, all of this description still talks about drainage, which is the removal of excess water. But when we're talking about underground drainage, it's different from, which is the same as subsurface drainage, it's different from surface drainage. Now, ditches has to do with surface drainage. When you talk about ditches, when you talk about furrows. But here, where the ideal answer here is tiles or moles which are placed beneath the ground, at the roots of the plants, beneath the soil, to help get rid of water from the land. So the answer here is water seeps into tiles to reach an outlet where it is discharged. Okay, this question says monocotyledonous crops are characterized by A, net veined leaves. Okay, B, we have taproot system. C, parallel veined leaves. D, woody stems and branches. Now, monocotyledonous plants or crops are crops that have just one cotyledon, while dicotyledonous plants are crops that have two cotyledons. Now, there are other characteristics of monocotyledonous plants and dicotyledonous plants, and with that knowledge of the differences between monocots and dicots, monocots have parallel veins, while dicots have net veins. The monocots also has the fibrous root system, and the dicots have the taproot system. But in this case, they didn't talk about, although they talked about the root system here. So monocot does not have the taproot system. It has a fibrous root system. The monocots do have a parallel vein leaves. They do not also have woody stems and branches. Neither do they have net vein leaves. So the answer here is parallel vein leaves. Maceration is carried out in the process of A, cocoa, B, cotton, C, oil palm, D, paddy rice. Now, oil palm, in the process of extracting oil after it has been boiled, the fiber and kernel, the oil is separated from the fiber and kernel through a process called maceration. So the answer is oil palm. Now, if the seed rate for the cultivation of cowpea is 25 kg per hectare, determine the quantity of cowpea seeds required to cultivate a farmland measuring 100 meters by 500 meters. Now, when we talk about a hectare farmland, we refer to it, we're talking about 10,000 square meters. So here is just a simple calculation, 25 kg, 25 kg, that's kilograms, of cowpea is cultivated per hectare. And remember, 1 hectare is 10,000 square meters. And they said determine the quantity of cowpea seeds required to cultivate a farmland measuring 100 meters by 500 meters. So that we need to calculate the present area of farmland, that is 100 meters by 500 meters. So we're going to multiply that to get the area of the farmland that the seeds have been cultivated. So of course that's just 100 times 500, which is about 50,000. Yes, 100 times 500. That gives us 50,000, okay? So that means the area of land now that they are referring to, remember the seed rates is 25 kilograms per hectare. Now we are told to calculate the quantity of seeds required for a particular area of land which was given as 100 meters by 500 meters. So we need to calculate that's the length and the breadth. So we need to calculate the area, which is, that means 100 meters times 500 meters. Well, I've said it orally, so we should understand that 100 times 500 is what made me get this 50,000 meters squared. So now 25 kilograms of cowpea seeds is required for per hectare, and a hectare is 10,000 square meters. Now, how many kilograms of cowpea seeds, that's why I put it as X, unknown, is required for a farmland of 100 meters by 500 meters, which means when we calculate that, we are going to get 50,000 meters square. So how many kilograms of cowpea is required to cultivate or required to be planted in a 50,000 square meter or meter square land? So this is what we are going to do. We just cross multiply here, and so that's 50,000 times 25, or we'll say X, okay, sorry, we'll say X is equal to 50,000 times 25 all over 10,000. 25 all over 10,000. So of course this strikes this, all of this strike this out. So we have 5 times 25. That should be 100 and so x kilogram is equal to 125. So 125 kilogram is required for this area of farmland, which is 50,000 square meters. So the answer is 125. So which of the following crops requires a nursery? We have soya bean, cotton seed, yam, rubber. Now, 3 crops usually require nurseries, you know, and the remaining are not 3 crops. Soya bean is not a 3 crop, cotton is not a 3 crop, neither is yam a 3 crop. So the answer here is rubber. The diagram below illustrates a farm operation. Study it and answer the question. Now, the illustrated farm operation is known as what? It's a woman with a calabash or basket or so, like a calabash, where she's trying to process some grains, trying to perform an act of making the grains neater after threshing. So after threshing, he's trying to get rid of the chaff, and the process of doing that is called winnowing. So the answer is C, winnowing. Now, which crops? This question says examples of crops which require the illustrated farm operation are A, cowpea, millet, okra, B, pepper, rice, cowpea, C, rice, groundnut, millet, D, maize, pepper, tomatoes. Now, fruits do not require winnowing. So when we look at the options, you can see cereals do require winnowing, and some leguminous crops too. Leguminous crops too require winnowing. So, but fruits do not require winnowing. So okra is a fruit, so this rules this out. Pepper, rice, pepper is a fruit, rice, cereal, cowpea, legume. Pepper rules this option out. Rice, groundnut, millet, these are all cereals. So, okay, rice, millet, cereals, groundnut, legumes. So this is the option. But let's still look at D option. It says maize, pepper, tomato are fruits. So this rules the option. This rules this option out. So the answer here is C, because rice, cereal, millet, cereal, groundnut, legume can be threshed and winnowed because the chaff needs to be gotten rid of after threshing. So the answer is C. Now, the reduction of 3 seedlings of maize to 2 plants per stand is referred to as. Now, when they say the seed rate of certain crops that has to do with number of seeds that are planted per hole. Now, in the course of grain, these seeds are reduced in number to reduce competition, and that process of reducing the number of seeds is called thinning. Now, seedlings are best transplanted in the field late in the morning and late in the evening. No, because you have to consider the weather as at the point of transplanting, which could add to additional stress of the plant. So the best time to transplant is in the morning and late in the evening. So let's look at the options. They said late in the morning and late in the evening. Nope, that's not the right answer. At midday and at dusk, that's not the right answer. Early in the morning and late in the evening, that should be the right answer. But let's still look at D. It says early in the morning and at midday. No. And the answer is C, early in the morning and late in the evening. Now, which of the following combinations of NPK fertilizer is recommended for the cultivation of yam and cassava? Now, at the early stage of growing our yam and cassava, proper vegetation should be encouraged. So NPK is a complex fertilizer, compound fertilizer. That means nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So the ratio of nitrogen to phosphorus to potassium is 20, 10, 10. So nitrogen encourages vegetative growth. Potassium is also needed. Potassium is also needed by plants. Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium encourages tuberization. That's tuber formation of our plants. So all of these are needed, but the ratio in which they're needed is what we're being asked here, and the answer is C. because at the early stage of grain or yam and cassava, the crops have to have vegetative growth, and so nitrogen, the percentage of nitrogen is slightly higher. It's higher than that of phosphorus and potassium. So the answer is C. Post-planting operations in cocoa plantation include roguing, stumping, mulching. All of these are involved in cocoa plantation. Stumping, well, you may wonder, some of this, we have pre-planting, we have planting, and we have post-planting. When it comes to cocoa operation, roguing has to do with the removal of weeds or certain plants. Yes, that's diseased plants, which is called roguing when you remove. Stumping also has to do with removal of cutting back of some stumps to encourage the growth of trees, the cocoa trees. So it's also part of the operations in cocoa plantation. And mulching is creating a kind of cover around the base of this plant to encourage, to reduce evaporation of moisture, and or to conserve moisture, and it's also important in cocoa plantation. So the option is C. Examples of cover crops. Now, cover crops are crops that have this spreading ability. You know, they're usually leguminous crops. They have this spreading ability, and they help to suppress weeds. They also help to fix nitrogen into the soil because they're usually leguminous crops. So examples of such cover crops, we have Centrosema pubescens and Mucuna utilis. These are actually forage crops. Calopogonum muconoides is a cover crop, remember, also leguminous crops. So Calopogonum muconoides is Glyricidea sepium is not, that's a tree crop, or a tree. Then Moringa oleifera is not. Imperata cylindrica is a grass, it's not a cover crop. Panicum maximum and Penicetum puperum are all grasses. So the answer here is Centrosema pubescens and Mucuna utilis. These are leguminous crops and they are cover crops. Which of the following product is not a primary forest product? Now we have timber, we have pulp, we have fuel wood, we have mushrooms. We're looking at primary. Primary products are products that are gotten directly from the forest. So timber, fuel wood, and mushroom are primary products. Well, pulp is processed, so it's not a primary product. So the answer is pulp, the secondary product. A major reason for encouraging afforestation in arid regions of West Africa is to increase timber production for export. Now, arid regions are the dry regions with very low rainfall, and such regions usually experience a lot of wind. So, but let's look at the options. They said increase timber production for export. That's not the major reason. It could be a reason, but they said the major reason. Provide shade for crops in Tonga farming. Nope. That's not the answer. Serve as a windbreak to check desert encroachment. Now, the arid region is usually regions with very low rainfall, which are like the desert regions. So that should be the answer. But let's still look at the last option. Serve as forest reserve for wildlife conservation. So the answer is C. Serve as windbreak to check desert encroachment. Ornamental plants are primarily cultivated to serve as raw materials, provide fodder for livestock. C. Serve as mulching materials. D. To beautify the environment. Ornamental plants are actually cultivated to beautify the environment. So the answer is D. Cotton stainer is an insect pest of onions, pepper, okra, cotton. From the name cotton stainer, we should know the answer. Should be cotton. The number of teats in the udder of the cow is, when we talk about the udder, we're referring to the breasts or the mammary gland of cows. You know, for animals, we refer to it as either udder or mammary gland. We will not call it breast. You know, so for cows, they have 4 in number. Now this diagram is an illustrated reproductive process of a farm animal, and we're to study it and now answer the question. And the reproductive process illustrated by the diagram here, you can see a developing fetus in a cow or a dam. So here we have, what do you think is this process? So you can see the fetus is already positioned, is already positioned for delivery. So we should be talking about heat. Is not heat. Ovulation, no. Heat has to do with receptivity of the male animal. Ovulation is release of egg before breeding. Lactation is milk leg down. Gestation is period from conception to birth. So the answer is D. The part which protects the fetus from mechanical injuries are labeled. Okay, this has to do with the amniotic fluid. This is the amnion, and this is the placenta and the umbilical cord. So we're talking about 1 and 2. So they help to protect the fetus from mechanical injury. So the answer is A. Still on this illustration, on this diagram, they said the fetus obtains dissolved oxygen and nutrients from the dam through the parts, okay, from the dam. That's the placenta is of the dam, which is the female animal, and the fetus is the developing baby. And you can see the connection has to do with the umbilical cord and the placenta, which is 3 and 4. So the answer is 3 and 4. That is C. Okay, this question says, assuming a sow was serviced on May 1st and conceived the same day, the expected date of parturition is. Now, what is a sow? A sow is a female pig. Now, the act of mating in pigs is called servicing. So it was serviced on May 1st and conceived the same day. And the expected date of parturition has to do with giving birth, is when? They said June 2nd, August 24th, October 2nd, and September 30th. So we need to calculate based on some basic information. Now we need to know the gestation period of the sow. That's gestation period has to do with the period from conception to parturition, which is giving birth. And for the sow, it takes 114 days or 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days. So when you look at 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days, it will give you 114 days. 90 plus 3 weeks, that is 21 days. 90 days, 3 months gives us 90 days. 3 weeks is 21 days plus 3 days. All of that, when you add it up, it will give you 114 days. So now we'll start from May 1st to June 1st. This gives us 31 days. Remember, some days in a month are 31 days, while some are 30 days, based on the knowledge we've gotten from our primary school days of the number of days in each month. May has 31 days, so from 1st of May to 1st of June is 31 days. From June 1st to July 1st is 30 days. June has 30 days. Then from July 1st to August 1st to August 1st gives us another 31 days. So we've gotten our 3 months here in terms of days. We're trying to know the date the animal, that's the sow, will give birth. So we've gotten to 1st of July, we've covered 3 months. Now for these 3 weeks, we're going to add 3 weeks in days now to this 1st of August. 3 weeks in days is 21 days. So we'll add from 1st of August plus 21 days. That gives us what? Plus 21 days. That will give us, yes, 1st of August plus 21 days. That will give us 22nd. 1st of August plus 21 days will give us 22nd of, will arrive at 22nd of what? August. Of August. Remember, we arrived at the 1st of August for the 3 months. Now, for these 3 weeks, we're adding 21 days because 3 weeks is the same as 21 days. So you add the 21 days to this 1st of August. You can see I added 21 days to the 1st of August. It will give us 22nd of August. Then we still have 3 days to add. So plus 3 days, that will give us what? 25th of August. So this is the expected date of parturition. Of course, when you add this, this gives us 92 days plus 21 days plus 3 days. Of course, it will still arrive at 114 days. Okay, let me just check that. 92 plus okay, so if you see from what I've calculated, we have 31 days, 30 days, 31 days here. So 31 days, which gives us 92 days, yes. Now 92 days plus 21 days. Okay, that's 113, and they said 3 plus 3 days. That gives us 116. But remember, when it comes to issue of parturition, we have a plus or minus 2 days. So if I go to minus 2 days from this 116, when we've added it, it will still land at 114. That's if I to follow this addition of these days. But I don't want you to, I want us to understand the simple, straightforward explanation based on our dates. Remember, May 1st to June 1st, 31 days, that's for 1 month. June 1st to July 1st, 30 days for another month. July 1st to August 1st gives us 3 months. Then we're now to add 3 weeks, which means in days, which is 21 days, to this August 1st, which gives us what? 22nd of August. Then we'll now add the last 3 days, which gives us 25th of August. So our answer should be August 25th. But you may ask, as I said, when I was trying to confirm, based on the calculation of the days, with the mindset that some days are 31 days. When you add this, it gives us 92 days. You now add 22 to 92 days, it will give you 114, then plus the 3 days. Plus 21, it will give you 113, plus the 3 days, it will give you 116. Then we will say plus or minus 2, because remember, we also take into consideration that law when it comes to parturition, where you have to add either plus 2 days or minus 2 days. Okay, so our answer is 25th of August. Now, in a poultry farm, we have 2,000 birds. We're laying an average of 1,680 eggs per day. I use this information to answer the question, what is the percentage of birds that did not lay eggs? So we need to calculate this too. Now, from 1,680 eggs per day tells us that 1,680 birds are laying eggs or laid eggs. The remaining do not lay eggs because chickens, birds lay 1 egg per day, all things being equal. Now look at this. How do we get the number of birds that did not lay eggs? So what you do is you subtract the number of birds that laid from the number of birds, total number of birds in the farm. So the number of birds that laid eggs are, we have 1,680, so you subtract it from 2,000 birds. That gives us 320. So 320 birds did not lay eggs. And now, how do we calculate the percentage of these birds that did not lay eggs? So what you do, you simply say 320 all over the total number of birds times 100 all over 1. So 320 all over the total number of birds times 100. So we have 16%. This gives us 16%. So 16% of the birds did not lay eggs. So the answer is A. Now in a poultry farm, still on that same question, 2,000 birds were laying an average of 1,680 birds per day. Use that information to answer the question. If an egg tray contains 30 eggs, how many trays of eggs will be collected in 1 week? Okay, so we have here 1,680 eggs per day. So they said if an egg tray contains 30 eggs, how many trays of eggs will be collected in a week? So if a day is 1,680 eggs, so in a week is going to be just 1,680 times 7. A week has 7 days, times 7 days, which will give us 1,680 times 7 days, which is 11,760 eggs. Sorry, let me use this marker. 11,760 eggs. 11,000. Let me get this clearer for us to see. So 11,760 eggs per week. Per week. Now, we've gotten a number of eggs per week. They said in 1 week. We've got a number of eggs in a week. So now the question is that if an egg tray contains 30 eggs, how many trays of eggs will be collected in 1 week? Now, what we do here, we're going to divide this by 30. 760 divided by 30, because a tray, they said a tray of egg or a crate of egg contains 30 eggs. So we're going to divide 11,760 divided by 30. So that gives us 392 crates or trays or crates. Trays or crates of eggs. So that's the answer, 392. Now, steaming up rations should be fed to breeding farm animals, weaned young animals, lactating animals, pregnant animals. Now, this is a ration that is usually fed to animals to encourage milk letdown. So when pregnant animals are about to give birth, are usually given rich diets of pasture, food to encourage milk letdown. So the answer is pregnant animals. Which of the following pairs of livestock disease could be contracted through inhalation? anthrax, tuberculosis, Newcastle aspergillosis, coccidiosis, rinderpest, Gumboro brucellosis. The answer is Newcastle. Sorry, the answer is yes, Newcastle and aspergillosis. They are usually contracted through inhalation, airborne spores. Okay, so which of the following pairing enterprise could be combined with fish farming for mutual benefits? They have vegetable production, beekeeping, poultry production. And when it comes to fish farming, vegetable production can be combined because the water, when you drain your ponds, the water can be used to water our vegetables, and of course fish feces are also in the water, which can add nutrients to the vegetables. Same as poultry droppings can also be used in fish pond production, in fish rearing, to enhance the growth of planktons in the pond, and also serve as some food to the fish. So we can say the options here are 1 and 2, which is A. Now this question says pest of honeybee is A, tick, B, grasshopper, C, lizard, D, birds. Now based on the feeding habit of ticks is not a pest of honeybee. Same as grasshopper, feeds on forages. Tick sucks blood. Grasshopper feeds on leaves or the forage parts of plants, the leafy parts of plants. So grasshopper also not be an ideal option. Lizard probably would be, but not really an ideal pest of honeybee. Birds, we have solitary bees that are individual honeybees and bees in colonies, but the birds here I would choose as the option as a pest. But the ideal pest of honeybees are the varroa mites, the wax moth, and the varroa mites, the wax moth, and the small hive beetles. These are the 3 ideal pests of honeybees, and these options are not here. But in this case, I would choose the birds as pest of honeybee. Now this question says the useful life. Okay, there's a table that shows the cost price, useful life of a machine, the salvage value, the annual depreciation, and total depreciation of probably a farm implement or a machine. Now the useful life represented by Y in the illustrated table is. Now, when we talk about annual depreciation, is the loss of value of the machine over in 1 year. Then total depreciation has to do with the loss of the value of the machine over a period of years. Now from this table, we have been provided information of the cost price of the machine. We were not provided information of the useful life, that's for Y. Then for salvage value, which is the amount the machine or the implement is sold off after it has lost its value over some years. Then the annual depreciation is the amount, it was the value at which the machine depreciates on a yearly basis, and the total depreciation is the value of the machine at which it has depreciated over a period of years. So from there, we know that since the annual depreciation is 1,000, annual means 1 year, total depreciation is 15,000. That gives us a clue that it's 15 years that this machine was used. So the useful life for this machine is 15 years. Still on this table, they said the total depreciation represented by Z in the illustrated table is, so if we have the cost price for Z to be 60,000, then the useful life is 10 years. The salvage value is the 18,000. That's how much it was sold off after it has lost its value for some years or depreciated in quality for some years. Then here we have the annual depreciation, which is 4,200 per annum. And total depreciation, that's the total number of years it was used. Remember, the useful life is 10 years, and the annual depreciation is 4,200. So for total depreciation, you just multiply 4,200 by 10,000. That gives us 42,000. Grading of farm produce is important because it maintains produce quality, prolongs storability, facilitates transportation, facilitates pricing. When we grade, it helps us to place our produce based on certain features like their sizes. And of course, the size of a produce will also affect its price. Taking eggs as an example, there are certain sizes of eggs we have that you obviously know that the price of these eggs, since they are small, the size will be cheaper than the price of an egg that is larger in size. So when you sort your produce into different sizes, it enhances your selling of your produce, which has to do with the pricing of our produce. So the answer is D. The risk of production in agricultural business is borne by the farm assistants, the farm labor, the farm owner, and the farmer's family. Of course, when it comes to production in agribusiness, it's borne by the farm owner, which is the entrepreneur that bears the risk. So the answer is the farm owner. And lastly, we have, in order to back up extension messages, an extension agent should procure agricultural loans for farmers, provide marketing channels for farmers, assist farmers in locating sources of farm inputs, and provide modern machines to farmers. So the ideal answer here is assist farmers to help them locate where they can obtain farm inputs for. So that's the backup extension messages. That's in order to back up extension messages, that's what an extension agent should do. So the answer is C. Okay, thank you for your time. Best of luck.